Discernment matters, especially in a world where attention is constantly hijacked by scrolling, comparison, and imitation without awareness. How we present ourselves to one another matters, as parents, as partners, as friends, as coworkers. Relationships are not separate from health, they are central to it. Jillian Turecki is a relationship educator and author whose work focuses on self-abandonment, emotional honesty, and responsibility as the foundation for real intimacy. Her book, It Begins With You, has become a touchstone for women ready to stop performing and to start living truthfully. So please listen for how she tells the hard truth, because I believe that truth is the doorway to the best of everything. You know, I say, your health can handle the hard truth. It can't handle lies. Please welcome Jillian Turecki. Jillian.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my God, thank you for
You're
having me.
amazing.
You are.
Do any of you follow Jillian?
Yeah,
There's definitely some followers there. Okay, so I'm going to dive right in. Where do you most often see women abandoning themselves in the name of love, harmony, or being chosen?
Well, one thing that I'm going to say that I don't think is as obvious, which is there are a lot of women who stay in marriages that they are miserable in because they are trying to protect their children. They stay in marriages with partners who may actually be good for their children in terms of financial support, but they're self-sacrificing in that. So that's one thing. And I think that women in general value connection and love at the highest level. Men value it as well, by the way. They really do. But as women, and I think this is changing, as young girls, we're taught to make it so that our worth is dependent on whether or not we're in a relationship. And then, of course, we have a biological clock. So if you want children, that's a very real thing. When a woman enters a stage of life where she wants that, and that's reality. You know, you're not going to...
She wants that.
If
not
she wants,
because she's following the script.
No, if she wants it. And you know, fertility is not endless. So we have these pressures. And so what happens is that what I've seen over and over and over again in young women, middle-aged women beyond, is because I want this connection and this love so badly, I will settle for something that's not right, or I will not say what it is that I need and what it is that I want, because I don't want to rock the boat, because I don't want to lose this person. And it's not that men don't do that, but women do that disproportionately more.
You know, and that's, I think that one thing, because your voice is so strong and articulate and clear, and I do think that one of the reasons why a lot of women stay for the kids is because our legal system needs to do better in terms of finding like a way for them, if there is protection needed, to do that. Because the way that, where I see women staying in abusive relationships more because of the kids is because they don't want to judge to be like, he doesn't seem that bad, but they know how bad, you know? Or vice versa. I mean, women can be abusive too, but you know, so that's, you know, maybe we should start a foundation.
Women have always been taught love first, or relationship first, then your fulfillment, then your purpose, then your passion. And so when we talk about self-abandonment, which can be sort of a vague term, like what really is that? One way that a woman can be self-abandoning is not focusing on what gives her life meaning beyond being in a relationship. And it's really important that everyone, regardless of who you are, has meaning in life. And it doesn't mean that it's you or me. It doesn't even have to be through a career. I mean, it could be through whatever, but you have to have meaning in your life that's separate from being in a relationship.
Oh, this is going to get so good because of our next speaker, because you all, yeah, I agree with this completely.
Yeah.
And you can't have meaning just because you're in a relationship, and you can't have your meaning be just because you have something else either, which I'll let her handle. But yeah, you have to have meaning.
Yeah, and this idea of purpose is something that's very entrenched in the male psyche, but not as much in the women's psyche. I think it's definitely changing, but having some sort of purpose and meaning, something that lights you up, something that's meaningful to you, every human being needs that. And I think that women have had historically, because of many different reasons, put that on the back burner. Yeah, and that would be self-abandoning.
Of course.
Yeah.
So many women believe that if they just communicate better or hold firmer boundaries, intimacy will return. Why does fluency so often replace presence without ever restoring connection? Well, first of all, I think that women think that if your sex life is hot, that means your marriage is good. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when all those things like don't seem to be like driving.
Most women don't have a hot sex life.
Okay, all right.
Right?
Well,
a lot of
let
women.
me tell you something. She's like, wait, do you? Yeah. So here's the truth.
Most women
Yeah.
need to be speaking up more in the bedroom so that they can get their needs
So
met.
they get, well,
Yes.
amen to that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Of course. But that's another thing.
Yeah.
They put up boundaries where it's like, well, I don't, whatever. Anyway, so, but I will tell you that I am 50, and I fell in love with my husband before I started losing estrogen. And I'm not taking any hormone replacement therapy. I don't judge anybody that's doing anything. I'm just like I haven't taken anything yet. And because I feel like my symptoms are really mild, but the one symptom that I can tell you I have is like, I'm like, what's sex? I'm like, you want to have sex? I'm like, oh, are you looking at me because you think you want to have sex? Because like, I just want to snuggle. Like, so I could care less about like sex, like I used to love to have sex, and now it's more like, can we just cuddle? But luckily, I have a really loving husband, and I'm actually loving like intimacy changes and shifts or whatever.
For sure. Yeah, women, and this is so important because there's men here right now. They're doing the tech work and all of that, but they need to hear this, which is that.
Where's my husband?
No, I mean I help a lot of men be
He's
better
actually
partners.
perfect.
Yeah,
He's actually perfect.
I help a lot of people be. Is that your husband? Yeah.
Look, isn't he hot?
Yes.
Hot. My sexy ranch man.
Yeah. Very much so. Hey.
Oh my God, let's go. I want to have sex. No, I'm just kidding.
What were you saying? Oh, anyway. Women, we have a bad habit of overfunctioning in relationships, and actually not just in relationships, in work, in everything, and we don't ask for help. And there's so many things that actually we could learn from a man when it comes to this. Like, ask for help. Don't try to do it all on your own. And so it's important that we recognize that we overfunction. So the boundary, because a lot of people, they'll be in a relationship, and then women will get incredibly resentful. And then the boundary comes out like, fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore. And then that doesn't help anyone. So it has to be more of, this is what I need help with. This is what I need help with. This is what I'm really happy to be doing. This is what actually makes me happy. This is what doesn't make me happy. What makes you happy? Let's talk about this, because I don't want to keep doing this.
And what happens when you do that and the person can't give you what you want? Or how can couples stay in that negotiation longer?
Yeah.
To where they feel safe to give the other person what they need? Because I think that women have been, let's just say it, they've been cheated on probably, I don't know. I mean, I guess women cheat too. But my point is that when you get cheated on, then you kind of carry that fear always. So then it's like, well, are you really going to just go do that thing that you say that you just want to do? Or are there like going to be 5 hot women there too that you're interested in? You know, you immediately like your mind, where our mind is so programmed to go like, you just want somebody else, right?
This is a very important conversation. Any woman you love, whether you're it's romantic love or friendship love, whatever it is, you have to realize the pressure that we have to be beautiful and to be relevant and to age gracefully, but not too gracefully. I mean, the pressure is immense. Men have their own pressure. This is a different kind of pressure. And so women are always going to be feeling like, oh, what if there is, because if you date a man, men are also very visual, right? And so it's like, oh, are you going to be out and then there's going to be gorgeous women and then, you know, you're going to be looking at them and not me. It's so layered. One is you have to have some level of self-esteem. You know, you have to have self-esteem. And you also have to be with someone who's reassuring, but there's only so much a person can reassure. And yeah, a lot of women have been cheated on, but in marriages, more women cheat. Yes.
Nasty girls.
That is a statistic. But I think that it's different than like you're with your boyfriend and he's just like, you're finding out he slept with this person and this person, this person. Women don't do that. Women will have the affair on their husband more often than men, believe it or not. Do you know how many couples I've worked with where they didn't actually know what the other person needed? And you have to have an ongoing conversation, even if it's weekly check-ins. What do you need from me? What do you need? What do you need this week? Or if it's every 6 months where you're going through like what you really need to feel loved and important. So you have to have this ongoing conversation. If you do not know what your partner needs to feel important, loved, significant, to feel safe, to feel like you're growing together, then you have some learning to do.
And if either one is really blocking the other's growth, they can't expect the relationship to survive.
Yeah, it's very tricky. You know, the question that I get the most, I would say there's like top 3 questions that I get the most, and this is sometimes the number 1, sometimes it's the third. When do you know it's time to leave a relationship? It depends who I'm talking to. You're in a relationship, it's been 6 months, you're having tons of problems, you don't feel comfortable with this person, drop them immediately, move on. Life is too short. And yes, it'll be hard because 6 months is enough time to form a deep connection with someone, but like, no, it shouldn't be so hard, it's 6 months. But am I going to give that advice that strongly to people who have a real relationship or children or they've been invested in each other? No, because I know there's going to be layer and layer and layer and layer. So I believe that divorce is a human right.
I do too.
And I also believe that there are people who never put in the work and they think if I just go get another partner, it's just going to get better. And there are cases where you're just really wrong for each other. So being with someone else is going to be infinitely better. But more times than we like to admit, especially when we're talking about longer term invested relationships, you take yourself wherever you go. So you think it's going to be better with someone else, but maybe not. So you have some work to do. So when is it time to leave a relationship? When the obvious, if there's any kind of abuse, you leave. And you just period, end of story.
No question.
Yeah, no question. But if you love someone and they love you and you feel stuck, you're unhappy, do whatever it takes so that if you do choose to walk away, you can say, I did everything. Meaning I didn't just try to change them. I looked in the mirror. And so don't leave a relationship that is very important to you, where you've invested years of your life, you maybe have a family together, there's no abuse, Maybe you're getting on each other's nerves, but there's no abuse. You can't leave until you look in the mirror and ask yourself, in what way am I contributing to whatever is not working here? Now, you might decide, yeah, I'm contributing to this, but it's not working. We're not growing. I'm not in love with this person anymore. People do grow apart, but you have to be willing to look in the mirror.
Yeah, that's huge. It really is huge. And really changing yourself in the name of love is very challenging. And actually getting out of the habit or the fear, like Krista was talking about, like fear breaks you. If all of the fear of what is my life going to be like without them? What if they fall in love with someone else? What is all that going to feel like? I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid. That's going to block your ability to actually take the notes that you need to take from each other to do the work. How often do you think that couples should do a check-in like that? Like, am I meeting your needs? Are you meeting? Like, do you think it should be like, is that not romantic to sit down and be like, it's our weekly check-in time?
Weekly,
like for couples that aren't doing therapy, like,
yeah, and not every couple should be in therapy, by the way. Sometimes it makes things worse. Sorry, I said it.
Wow.
Yeah, sometimes it makes it worse.
Say it. I think you're amazing.
So I appreciate that. I think you're amazing. I think once a week, should sit down with your partner and talk about first the ship of the relationship, the unsexy stuff, the unromantic stuff. How are the kids? How's the house running? You know, just it's an executive meeting. You're having a business meeting. And I think that should be once a week. And I also think there should be maybe in that meeting, okay, how can I be a better partner to you? What do you need? Are you exhausted? Because some days you're going to be operating at 80% and your partner's going to be operating at 20%, and you have to pick up more of the slack. And the whole point is that you don't keep score. You trust that whoever you're with, and you hopefully that it balances out. And you could be like, you know what, I'm exhausted. I'm burning the candle at both ends. I don't know if I can handle it. It's okay. Okay. What do you need from me this week? I think once a week.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, there was a woman that was writing this book, though. She was a big executive at some big company, and they were writing a book on like the little, like during the whole Me Too movement and stuff. That wasn't about that. It was about the nuanced things. How like if a man has to leave work to pick up his child for soccer, he's like a hero. But if a woman has to leave work to pick up their child from soccer, it's like annoying and she's a problem and she can't advance in the company or whatever. So in those meetings, don't you think it's really important that people get very vulnerable and very granular where it's like, look, I'm feeling vulnerable because of this, this, or this, or I need you, or I'm actually, and I'm going to say one more thing here on the perimenopause and menopause thing. Because I can feel it in myself where it's like, stress. Or your anxiety might be a little bit more at this time of the month or this or that. And to say to your partner, like, look, because I say this to my husband, like, I'm sorry. I'm going through late perimenopause right now. This might not have bothered me like X amount of years ago, but I have this weird anxiety about this thing right now. I need extra like help with this, or this.
Absolutely.
Thank goodness he's gentle and he's like, okay, I get it. But men don't understand. We go through so many hormonal changes as women.
If you are a man and you're in a relationship with a woman, you must know to a T her cycle. Whether she's bleeding or not bleeding, you need to be attuned to that. That's very important.
You should write that book for men.
It's very important. It's very important.
Instructions on the cycle.
But you know what? But compassion has to go both ways. So you said how transparent, 100% transparent. But it's not going. You have to have. If you can't have compassion for what your man's going through or what your woman's going through, that's a problem. So you do have to talk very candidly because sometimes we don't know, right? We don't know what you're going through. We don't know, if you're in a relationship with a man, he does not know what it's like to be going through perimenopause and menopause or have your period. He has no idea. So yes, we need to be talking about that more honestly. And we have to have a lot more empathy and compassion.
A lot more empathy. I was going to say, why don't they like teach us empathy classes starting in like kindergarten all the way through? It would make a huge difference. All right, I'll go back to these a little bit. So how does self-betrayal typically show up long before a relationship seems to be in trouble? And what signals do women ignore when they are slowly stepping away from their own truth to keep a relationship intact?
I've worked with a lot of women who have been in abusive relationships. And I've also worked with a lot of people and women who've been in relationships where they weren't abusive, but just were very wrong. And all of them describe something to me, which is, I felt something in my body. I felt like something was off. And I'll never forget listening to a podcast years ago, maybe 11 years ago. And I wish I knew which podcast it was. And I wish I knew who the guest was, but I don't. But he was an FBI agent, or he was an old FBI agent. And he worked with on a lot of cases where a woman was brutally raped, attacked, but lived. And every single one of them reported, before getting into the elevator with their attacker, let's say, or before, seeing them on the street, wherever it was, the hairs on the back of their neck went up. But they talked themselves out of it because they didn't want to be mean. They didn't want to be unfair. They thought, oh, you're being
Judging.
You're
profiling.
You're profiling, you're being judgmental, or that's not kind, because we're taught to be kind and compassionate.
Or you're too emotional.
Or
your imagination.
Yes, or you're being too anxious or too much or ridiculous, all these things. And yet, what is it to live in the world as a woman? I mean, we are physically, for the most part, weaker than men. That's our physiology. So we're targets. And what woman do you know that's going to walk into an empty parking lot? And yet men are just like, what's the big deal? It's like, no. You need to know what the big deal is. Yeah. And so women have, and I think a lot of men have this ability too, but women really have this ability to have that intuition. And the self-betrayal begins the moment you're like, oh God, that hurt. That didn't land well. And they don't say anything. And the thing is, you can be in a relationship with an amazing person and they unintentionally hurt your feelings. They say something that hurts your feelings. And what I love to teach women is when that happens, just to say something like, ouch. Yeah. Like, that really hurt.
Name it.
Like, wow, that really hurt. Instead of being like, oh, maybe I'm being silly for thinking that was crazy, or I'm not going to say, I don't want to say anything because, God forbid that makes him angry, whatever it is. And so that's when it begins. And so you have to listen to your body. And if you've had a lot of trauma and you feel like you can't trust your body, you learn to trust your body. You speak to someone who you trust and say, was this right? Was this not right? No, that wasn't right. You should say something. So at first, if you need some sort of mentorship, you do it. But we feel it. And it starts when we deny it.
What about when women feel like they have no one because the relationship that they need to leave has become them, and they feel like they have no one, so they would rather stay in something they know is not right instead of leaving it?
Sometimes leaving a relationship is a process and you need some sort of help, and there's no one answer for that.
What about that phrase like, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back to you, it's yours. If it doesn't, it never was. If you're struggling, because you can be in love with somebody and but things are not great, it's not really fulfilling, you feel like the relationship. And also I think it's important to let people know that relationships don't always look like, I think everyone here is smart enough to know they don't always look like movies. But with social media now, there are so many women that I personally know who have wretched home lives. And if you watch their Instagram channel, it looks like they have a life that you could only dream of having, a love you could only dream of if only he would do that. I watch them like they need Oscars. I'm literally like, wow, I saw your Instagram post, but let's talk about all that stuff we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, what does a real healthy relationship look like?
The golden question. Well, it looks like freedom. When you love someone, you're not trying to entrap them. And we do that because we're jealous. We do that because we're insecure. We do that all the time. And it looks like freedom to be exactly who you are. It looks like freedom to grow. When you love someone, do you set them free? I mean,
Well, yeah, it's freedom.
yeah.
You just said it.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
If they, on their own, they come back to you, then
Yeah.
they've made their own free choice to be with you.
what's worse than being in a relationship with someone who you know they don't want to be there, but they're staying out of guilt? Is there anything worse than that? You don't want that. You want someone to want
Yeah.
to be with you.
I've had to ask my husband a lot of times, like, are you going to leave me because of TracyFest? Did I just do too much this time? Like, are we still good? Like,
That's cute.
last night I think I was like, I love you, and he said nothing, and I was like, I said I love you, and he's like, yeah, I love you. And I was like,
Well, I mean, so there's lots of things that make a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship is having the safety of knowing that your person is not going to leave just because you put on TracyFest. It's the security of knowing that that person is not going anywhere. And both people,
you'd have to actually do something
Terrible.
truly wicked for them
terrible.
to leave.
Yeah, you'd have to
make all the mistakes. You can you can have the freedom to try and fail. You don't have to
Yeah.
always look good.
Yes.
You don't have to get the facelift. You don't have to take, you
none of
don't have to crave sex like you did when you were 19 to keep them either. But I'm just saying, like, it's like,
Yes.
that's not really love.
No, that's not
deeper.
love. Love very much is a choice.
What happens to intimacy when a woman is more focused on being chosen rather than being known?
Are we talking about sexual intimacy or all intimacy?
I think all intimacy,
Yeah.
like where they just want them to constantly choose them again, so they act like the person they know their husband wants instead of really letting their
which is
partner
actually
knows them. Know them.
churning off your partner and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because being yourself and being confident in who you are is the biggest aphrodisiac, doesn't matter who you are. It really is. That's what people are drawn to. They're drawn to that. That doesn't mean authenticity. And it doesn't mean that, you're never going to be insecure or anything like that, but basically being comfortable. So this idea of like, I have to be chosen, then she is everyone but herself. And so if she's focusing on that, she definitely cannot relax in the bedroom because she's only focused on performing. And if she's only trying to get chosen, then she's exhausted.
She's exhausted.
Yeah.
I love it. She's exhausted.
She's exhausted, and I have nothing but compassion for that.
Yeah, but that's also why, and I loved doing the opening arm ceremony with all of you again. I'm just going to say it again, because when we do that, that is the place where I want you to be so unstructured, in motion with yourself, where you're like, where Krista said, like, she had a moment of saying, like, what do I look like doing this? And then she's like, I look like myself, and that's the thing, is like, look like yourself, be yourself, feel yourself, know yourself. And if they love you, they love you. And if they don't, who cares? Like, it's better to know sooner rather than later. I always think, like,
Absolutely.
I mean, to not want to regret. Well, just so that you know, follow Jillian. Be very discerning. Like I say, like, unfollow and refollow people with real discernment in 2026. I guarantee you're following way too many people who are actually making you know yourself less. Because you are doing, that's why I hate about the makeup tutorials. I joke about it, but it's actually really a big thing. Like, do your own makeup. Like, figure it out yourself. Live the questions of what you like and don't like. You're not going to look like the person in the tutorial. Like, just don't do it. Like, but Jillian's feed is phenomenal. She's never, ever, ever going to go, come take my supplements with me this morning and drink what I'm drinking and eat what I'm eating, and then let me tell you what your husband wants for dessert. Like, that's never going to be on her feed. I'm in awe of the way that she uses that channel and your authorship, because she's really there for you. And that's what I watch about, like, a Dr. Shefali on social media or a Jillian Turecki on social media. they are there for you. It is like they're like Mr. Rogers tying their shoe. It's like you can freaking rely on that one day they're not just all of a sudden going to be like, my new creatine, everyone. Like, I just admire the way that you're doing that. And her book is beautiful. So this is to introduce you to these people in hopes that you will stay in your own relationship with them, because I see every signal that I see from them is that they want to be in a relationship with you. Like, they don't want you to be fanatical over them. They actually want to be in a relationship with you.
Very true.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.